Now, this is a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. Dr. Robert Califf, the chief of the U.S. drug regulator, the U.S. FDA, no less, caught up with my colleague Ekta Batra on his maiden trip to India in his official capacity. Listen in to his thoughts on the U.S. government's concerns on over-reliance on India and China when it comes to drug manufacturing and a lot more.
One of the difficulties for us at the FDA is we don't control the economic issues, so it's much broader than the FDA. We only have a certain role to play. Our main job is to make sure that when a drug does come into the U.S. from outside, that it's safe and effective. The supply part of it, we do a lot to fix supply problems when they occur, but the question of what's the right balance is a very important one. This is being debated not so much within the U.S., but within other parts of the U.S. government. And I would just say in general, we all became overly reliant on China. I mean, China has been a growing country. They focus very much on the basic starting materials and the API, as you said. We need to see that distributed more around the world. India, I think in all of our planning, will be a dominant component of that. So it's not that we want to take it from India. What I see is the overall pie is getting bigger. India will maintain a very big part of that pie. But every country, including the U.S., should ensure that if something happens, that they have the capability, for national security reasons, of producing their own drugs. We've talked a lot about devices, too, while I've been here, another important part of your biomedical economy. You have a lot of very inventive people here, and a very similar story there. We would see the device and digital communities in India obviously very strong and growing. We just need to make sure U.S. doesn't depend completely on other countries, so if something happens, we have none of our own capability.
So will India be a dominant supplier to the U.S., say, 5 years from now? Can we still expect that?
I certainly expect that to be the case. I have no doubt about it. And, you know, we're celebrating the 15th year of our India office at the FDA. We have really talented and dedicated team here working with your industry. And I just loved a comment in a visit we made yesterday to one of the firms. I asked the question, how often should we inspect? Because we're going to inspect more. And it's not to punish the industry, it's more to develop a system where there are no surprises on any side. And the answer was, come anytime you want. That's the answer that we'd really like to see.
And will those inspections be unannounced? Will it be more independent translators? Because the US FDA seems to be facing that issue when it comes to India as well as China. Announced inspections 12 or 9 weeks in advance, so they have time to prepare, and things such as translators who are not independent. So are those factors going to be considered now?
I feel like a real expert here because in my former life, I've been inspected by the FDA multiple times and on the boards of companies that have undergone inspections. And I think a mixture of announced and unannounced is important, and you'll see more unannounced inspections. Because as the gentleman said yesterday in one of the Indian firms, if you're always observing good practice, it shouldn't matter when an inspector comes. It's just your normal routine being observed. And we've seen in India that there's every capability of doing this at an extraordinarily high level. Also mentioned that digital technology could be very important here because a lot of what you need to know to assure that there's high quality now is being monitored within the firms with digital technology. In the future, we should be able to plug right into that digital information and keep track of the quality as we go. Then the inspections are very focused on issues where we may have concerns or want to learn about something.
Will the U.S. face a shortage because of the tornado hitting the Pfizer plant?
It looks like we've averted it. And I mean, one of the things about the FDA that I admire so much, remember, the commissioner is a political appointment and only for a short period of time. Most 18,000 people are full-time FDA employees who do this work. We have an entire team of people who do nothing but deal with the possibility of a drug shortage. And in this case, there was an immediate response. The company did a great job, and our people pitched in to make sure that we could recover as quickly as possible. If there's a shortage of one drug, there may be another that's just as good, or someone else may make it. All that involves our people at FDA and the industry working together. So we can handle this thing. And in fact, we're doing it about 200 times a year now in the U.S. And then about 30 to 40 times per year, a real shortage occurs. And I'm hoping that we can bring this to zero, taking into account all the things we've talked about today and fixing them.
So you've met a lot of people from industry in the past in your trip to India. When it comes to compliance, do you think that there's been a formidable change which has taken place? Because one of the key issues used to be data integrity, data falsification, which a lot of Indian companies were hit by, say, maybe a couple of years ago. Is that resolved and behind us?
I'd put it like this. A lot of the companies we've worked with for a long time have come up to a standard which is every bit as good as anywhere else in the world. And so we're seeing a lot of very high quality activity in the industry here in India. But you also have a lot of new people getting into the industry, and there's a significant learning curve there. And there's a real need, with your vast resources that you now have for education, there's a real need for training a large number of people who really start out with an understanding of all these disciplines that have to come together: chemistry, biology, human studies, medicine. It's a complicated set of issues where you need the whole team to be at the table in order for it to function. It's kind of like, I don't know, CNBC. You've got to have producers and anchors and the people rolling the film. They've all got to work together as a team, and that's what we need. So
particularly for compliance, and I take your point, particularly for compliance, a lot has to do with the top-down culture, from what emits from the management on the top and what goes down into the plant. Has that changed in India? Because a lot of the compliance issues we used to face was also related to the culture of the Indian people.
Well, I'm almost 72. I feel like I've seen every situation, and I don't think there's anything unique about India. In other words, these problems exist everywhere, and I would react a little bit to top-down. I certainly believe that the leaders have to exude quality in their thinking and an absolute commitment to integrity. But there's also a very important bottom-up component of this. If the people who are in the workplace have a deep ethic of integrity and honesty, even if it hurts, that's also very important. So I don't think this is something that's unique to India, but there's a lot to work on here to get that balance right. And, simply put, it's something that happens in every business I've been involved in healthcare. I'm a doctor, and we've been through this in healthcare. What happens if someone makes a mistake? Do you cover it up, or do you talk about it and then fix the problem so that it doesn't occur again? And in a company, if there's a manufacturing problem, sometimes that puts severe strain on the finances of the company. And in every business, there's a tendency, if the bosses don't say, we have to be honest here, the workers are in a very difficult situation of speaking out, which is threatening their jobs. And so, again, not unique to India, but it's definitely an issue here, and I think it has gotten better. We've met with your leaders, not just your government officials, but your industry leaders while we've been here. One thing we want to do from our FDA perspective is reward the people who do display this commitment to integrity and quality.
All right, you can catch that full conversation with the US FDA Commissioner on CNBC-TV18 at 5:30 p.m. later today.